Well, Ben, this is a pretty special moment. I mean, you don't get Lotus bringing out cars like this very often. First step into the world of SUV-dom.
Yep.
I remember when the Cayenne came out for Porsche and there was massive uproar. People going, you can't build something like that, and it's awful, it's a travesty. And then we of course we realised that, like it or lump it, there's a massive market for it, makes them the most money, opens the doors to developing other cars as well. Is it a T132? That's my first question. Is it called a T132 or?
Type 132 is the code name. So this is a long-standing tradition within Lotus that every product that goes through and has a full development cycle gets a code name, a type number. Yeah. 132 is the internal code name for that product because it follows 131, which is now known in the world as Emira, because that car's properly been launched. So Type 132 is the code name. The name of car, which we are revealing, is Eletre, which is carrying on the e-naming tradition, which also is part of the Lotus heritage, to make sure that this product sits with everything else that the brand has in the marketplace, and is a continuation of those traditions and aspects of the brand that people know and love.
So the Avaya, the Emira are going to be made in Norfolk.
Yep.
And this, and from what I've read, a couple of other derivatives of this sort of family are going to be made in China. There's a massive Lotus development production centre being built at the moment, is there, or going to be built soon?
Yeah, it's under construction. It's nearly up and running and ready to go. So that production facility is located in Wuhan in China. There's a huge investment in that facility to make sure that we have absolutely world-class factory. It will rival those things around the globe which are producing premium products for other brands. It's been benchmarked against the competitor set to make sure we've got the best of the best, and that location's been picked because that's where we're able to deliver the best tech and the best capability in car production. So the Type 132 behind you will be the first product to go through that plant, and there will be some other lifestyle products that come after that. So at the minute we're able to talk loosely about Type 133 and Type 134, which are also lifestyle products which will follow this. So this is the first mass market EV for Lotus. So it follows Evija as very much a halo product, which has shown Lotus's intent to become a fully electrified brand as we move forward. And I guess 132 really represents the first product that is going to be more attainable, let's say. More customers are going to be able to engage with. It's a very different proposition, very different price point to Evija.
Ever so slightly.
And following that, there will be others. So we have two more firmly planned in, Type 133.
So 133 is what, a four-door coupe? I was reading.
It is, and more detail on that will come out in due course when we've had a chance to let this product settle. That one will come shortly afterwards, and Type 134 is going to be a product that somehow, let's say, category-wise sits in between. And
a crossover, you say?
A crossover, I would say, in a sense of the word.
An estate car?
I wouldn't say an estate car, no. I think if you look at where Lotus has always operated, we try and be a little bit more progressive with things and slightly more challenging. I think that product may be something a little bit different, something newer. So if we take Type 132 as an E-segment SUV, which is something that people understand, and is something where there are strong pulls for the market. A lot of people are looking to do this kind of product, especially with electrification. There's a lot of reason why it makes sense from a global market perspective. Type 133 will follow in a different vein, so a much lower product. But still a lifestyle product, so with a great level of practicality and usability, but still something very, very sporty. And then Type 134, a little bit different.
So a smaller SUV, crossover type of thing. That's we're talking about 2024 here, probably.
We are, yeah.
Before we dig too deep, I want to know how big that car is, because it's quite big. And I'm not used to seeing large Lotus. It's not really a brand that has made big cars. I mean, certainly not cars that are family orientated. So this is a massive step.
It is a big step, and it's a much larger product than Lotus had produced previously. It's the first four-door Lotus to properly go into production, and obviously it's the first SUV. So in terms of dimensions, the product is shade over 5.1 meters in length. It's a shade over 2 meters in width, and it's 1,630 millimeters in height. So to put that in context of the competition, very similar to something like a Lamborghini Urus or an Audi Q8, let's say, in terms of a large SUV.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, that's a fully electrified product.
Yes. Yeah, it's a damn sight more attractive than a Urus as well.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
I think that's probably fair to say instantly. Now, see, when you crouch down to a sort of cat's eye view, dog's eye view, it's even more fascinating, because I thought this was an open grille, and it's not, is it? It's it's carbon fibre, but then it goes into these mad ducts, there and there.
I think, as you say, it's one of those things, when you come to a more abnormal or lower viewpoint, you see a lot more detail going on in the front end here. So we have a very sharp nose section here that divides the air. The air that isn't passed up over the top of the hood comes into this area here. Traditionally, this would be what we call a stagnation zone, so where the pressure builds up and it creates a lot of drag and affects the aerodynamic capabilities of the car. This is all relieved by this carbon fibre sculpture here that actually shoots the air in between the luggage compartment in the front and the headlamp modules, up and out over the hood.
You
so
can
these
see
are
straight through
bypass ducts, totally open.
And these openings here, so it indents heavily under this.
Sculpted away underneath the lamp there. So this is the main beam functions of the lamp. So these are also hidden until lit, again for simplification and overall really clean, clear graphical message. Only the DRLs and DI are, which are primary functions that you see all the time on the lamp, are visible on the top. All the other main beam functions are hidden until they come on. So in a day driving scenario, you only see this very technical expression of lighting at the top, main functions hidden.
So that's the main headlight at night?
It is down here,
Right, okay. Because this sort of beak and these really slim, kind of almost Ferrari-like headlights, that looks like a supercar.
It does, very much.
And then you've got this other layer, and this ducting's massive. I can see the tyres.
So this is a very emphasised air curtain, so more powerful than most people have, so a bigger duct to take more air and dismiss and diminish more of the pressure in the front end and shoot it off down the side of the car through the wheel arches. Then in the central area here again, something extremely unique. This is a really key feature of what we've tried to do. Again, in terms of pushing the sort of future technology and electrification message of the car, there is no grille on the car. There's no grille mesh. We have this network of triangles here that all hang together to give you this quite intriguing, almost shimmering effect. And this opens.
Oh, no, that's cool.
So when the car decides that it needs cooling for the drivetrain or the battery system, these individual petals pull in and they open up these
little funnels.
These little funnels, and that allows air to pass onto the rad pack that cools the car. Then in a mode where you don't need the cooling and we want to optimize aerodynamics, all of these little petals close, and then all of that air doesn't go into the radiator, which is actually a huge cause of drag in most conventional cars. It's ducted to the side where there's a low-level secondary air curtain, and all the air is pushed out again into the wheel arches and off down the side of the car.
So you got 6 really quite pronounced ducts going on.
We have, just in the front end. So what we've done is shrink wrap around the hard points of engineering we need, like main lamp function, luggage capacity here, air onto the radiator pack, and then we've developed the sculpture around where we can cut things away and we can channel the air through to best optimize the performance and make sure we get something that looks super interesting.
That's interesting. Lamborghini are going to be so jealous of that.
I think a few people might be jealous.
That's really,
of that.
really good. And of course, a very hexagon. I think that looks ace. Some of the curves and the swoops and the ducting going on is incredible. There's these really deep ducts in the bonnet, and then those holes in the rear that echo the Avaya. They're sort of tunnelled in with the lights around the edge. They're amazing.
Well, absolutely, but I mean, I think this was a really important thing for us as a design team trying to push the DNA of the brand forwards. We have to look at what already is out there and how Lotus is building its kind of story around aerodynamics as a sort of key design differentiator moving forward. So Evija has very much been something that's kind of pioneered this concept of porosity for Lotus, which is about how we treat airflow and achieving really good aero performance through design feature. Porosity, yeah.
Porosity, so air going through it rather than around it.
Absolutely that. So, a traditional way to make a low drag car is to smooth out all the shape and make everything as seamless as possible, so it's effectively very slippery. You get that kind of teardrop effect. So we have the natural kind of teardrop shape to the cabin on this product and a certain amount of taper, which gives us the right kind of base to the shape. And then as a kind of thing which is unique to Lotus, we try and pass the air very much through the product, as you've described.
Yeah.
So dividing the mass and letting the air flow through it wherever possible, in between, the occupants inside the car, luggage space, and then other technical components. And I think what that gives you, and what you've described as something that's very appealing about the project, is this really dramatic sense of sculpture that exists in the car. And to us, that's key. So this is how we're drawing on Evija, which obviously is an extremely low hypercar, very different proportion to this product, but how we can translate that feeling, that visual excitement, to a product in this category.
The architecture, as you know, it's only going to be EV.
Yep.
What are the sort of headline figures? I read it was going to be four-wheel drive only.
Yep.
Maybe 2 different power levels.
Yep.
What kind of range can we expect? Has that been revealed? Or?
It is as baseline numbers. So the architecture is new. It's bespoke to Lotus. That's helped us in design terms be able to give the proportions to the car and give a base to the overall aesthetic that's really, again, helping us to hint at that kind of supercar-inspired design aesthetic. In terms of the numbers, the range capacity is around 350 miles for this product.
Okay.
There are a couple of levels of power output that are going to be supplied on the product. So you can have a drive system at both axles, potentially, and power outputs of a start point of over 600 horsepower.
A start point of over 600 horsepower. Okay.
Correct.
So a rapid car.
Yes.
High range.
Yep.
The inevitable question with regards to Lotus is weight. It seems to be the thing. You guys are constantly being scrutinised by Weight Watchers.
Of course, yeah.
Slimming World.
Yeah.
What's the crack? Because obviously EVs are by very nature quite heavy.
Of course.
Sometimes that can be an advantage for EVs. How have you tackled it with this, with materials and?
Well, the weight's being optimised, and that work is still ongoing as we get towards the finalised product for launch and going out to the customer. Everything will be done to optimise the weight of the vehicle, but it's really other approaches in terms of how clever we can be with the engineering. So trying to keep the mass as low down in the car. Obviously, having battery cells low in the vehicle is a tried and tested methodology that helps handling.
Yeah.
So everything's been done from that kind of point of view to give the dynamic capability you'd expect from a Lotus. Material-wise, this is a fully aluminium-bodied car, and the structure is largely aluminium as well. So optimization's gone on there, both in terms of the engineering proper in terms of structure, but also the elements that you see and touch. This particular car behind you, again, is quite a high-spec representation of the product. So a lot of the areas of the car which are not aluminium are represented in carbon fibre here, which is an option that the customer can pay for.
Obviously, the company that owns Lotus, Geely,
Yep.
they also own Volvo, Polestar,
Yep.
LEVC, London Taxi Company. Is there shared DNA with any of the drivetrains or anything like that with this, or is it?
Well, there's always going to be some shared componentry or some shared engineering know-how that goes into this, but this is a Lotus bespoke platform, and it's a brand new factory to produce the car. So it's going into new territories. I mean, again, aluminium bodied car. That doesn't exist anywhere else within Group. So there's a lot of firsts, and people need to really understand that there's a lot of this has been done specifically for Lotus to make sure that it's everything it should be.
With its practicality in mind, the sort of packaging, so it's a 5-seater?
This particular car behind you is illustrated as a 4-seat, but there are both options on the car. So these are 4 individual sport seats in that car with some quite luxurious features around slouch mechanism on the seat, so you can get a really nice space to relax. But there is also the option to buy a 5-seat with a split folding rear bench that gives you all the practicality that you might expect from some of the competition. So it depends what you want as a customer.
Yeah. Battery sizes, kilowatt hours, have you revealed that? I mean, I read some speculation, but I don't know if they're real or not. I might look at your expression. Between 92 and 110 kilowatt hours?
That's what's in the press release, so that's what we're saying at this point in time. But bear in mind there is a little bit more development work to go on with the program. So some of these numbers may still shift a little bit.
That's a big battery.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, 800 volts?
It is, yeah.
This is interesting, this is. Because it's just bizarre to see a Lotus badge on something so luxurious and so big. But there's some interesting bits, though, I have to say.
Inside the car, it's a similar story to the exterior. We're concentrating on dividing the mass in new ways and giving us a unique theme, so something that's really ownable to Lotus. I think the first place you see that is with this IP topper theme. So we have this really beautiful fluid line that flows round off the door over the driver information module, and then these two kind of winglets that almost look like aerodynamic devices that don't ever meet in the middle and give you this big division of mass where areas of the IP that we don't really need to fulfill function are removed. It's also very reminiscent of those winglets on the rear of the car. So you have a kind of a synergy between the exterior detailing and theme running through onto the interior.
Yeah, so you've got these two separate toppers and they're mirroring their own information.
Yeah, so we've got a super slim driver's information display for the driver, obviously, with just core function held on that. And that same module is carried over to the other side to give more immersive experience to your passengers as well. So there's digital content for all of the people in the car to be able to engage with and give a really fantastic experience.
Yep. Physical buttons. This pleases me.
It's interesting. We've had quite a few comments on that, but I mean, obviously, with the push to tech, there's a lot of touchscreen content within the car. We've got a 15.1-inch OLED screen there, which is touch capable. Yep. But we're also mindful of making sure that this is a Lotus, it's a driver's product, and it's a performance product. So all of the primary functions, as we call it, are still operational with a physical switch. So we have toggles for the HVAC. Obviously drive mode selectors, and anything that you'd need as an immediate response quickly is on a physical button. So again, on the steering wheel, multifunction and a lot of access to key sort of driving aids and things that you would want to do when you're trying to have a more focused dynamic experience. We're also exploring sustainable materials here. So this is a sustainable carbon fibre. It's a non-woven product, and it's actually taking offcuts from standard carbon production, the bits of waste. Yeah. The little fibres are compacted into a mat, and then it goes through the same process as a normal woven carbon fibre. So
it doesn't follow a set pattern, does it?
It doesn't. It's something that looks a lot more organic. It's quite interesting and a little bit fresher, but it's there because it has the same structural capacity as a normal carbon fibre, but there's a strong sustainability story around it, which in markets in some areas now is becoming more and more important.
Yeah, yeah. The LED kind of light bar that goes in underneath these ledges. Yeah. Does it go? You've obviously got the electronic.
It ends in the electronic rear view mirror schemes. But that light bar that runs right the way across the car, again, picking up on some of the themes from the exterior. We have one blade of light on the back of the car. We've mirrored that on the inside. Right. And in a similar way to the exterior, this is not just there for a decorative feature. It has an intelligence to it. So it's part of the communication systems of the car. So this light bar can be tuned by you to give a mood, an ambient colour, or a sort of light status, and it also can provide some sort of increased functional awareness. So the light bar, for example, could perhaps give you some kind of warning around lane departure or blind spot or some other functions like that. Can tell you when there's a call coming into the car, for example. Rather than the thing just ringing, you might get that light flashing as well. Okay. So it's part of the way that the UI of the car works and the vehicle interacts with you as a customer.
I'm going to sit in the back now. So this is the first time I've opened a back door of a Lotus because there hasn't been one with back doors today. And also, I've noticed it's frameless doors.
It is, well. So all frameless doors on the car. Yeah. It's just a decision to push the thing into a premium segment again. A lot of the competitors are looking at frameless doors, and this really helps to give you that kind of more exotic sports car feeling again. Yeah,
it does feel really luxurious, and you've got flat floor. Yep. This is the 4-seat, as you said, so these almost mimic the front seats exactly. In fact, maybe they are.
They are, yeah.
Are they the same?
There's a tiny difference in the length of the seat pan underneath you, but effectively they're 4 individual sports seats with plenty of kind of movement and functionality. These have the ability to recline, so you can have a much more kind of relaxing experience in the back of the car. Yeah. And with the seats in front of you being that slim and purposeful, it gives you a great view forward.
I was going to say these are, because sometimes they can ruin the back seat experience, but these are quite heavily cut in, and of course they've got a hole in them.
It's all about us minimising things. So it's again to give you that Lotus feeling inside the car. Super slim, sporty seats and mass reduced wherever possible.
Yeah. And these are those push-down cup holders, aren't they?
Yeah, plunge cups.
Is that what you call them?
Yeah. And then plenty of storage everywhere. So there's a storage compartment under your elbow, another one behind you there with a tambour door. Yeah. And then below that screen there's a pull-out drawer as well. So
there's one
everywhere we can, we've put storage and practicality into the product whilst maintaining that luxurious feeling and a real sort of sporting edge.
There's some cool materials going on here.
Yeah.
I like these. I like this sort of, I don't know what you call it. It's not.
This is a wool fabric, so it's something we're looking at again in terms of the lightweighting we talked about earlier. You know, if you take a leather trim part, remove that trim and replace it with a wool blend or some other fabric like this, you save normally more than half of the weight.
Okay.
So that's something particularly interesting.
Yeah.
Fabrics like this are also totally sustainable. So
Yeah.
they're very appropriate in some markets that we're looking at where there's a strong pull towards that.
Yeah.
We've got a heavy use of microfiber in this spec of the car as well. So again, weight on weight against leather. This takes 50% out for every trim part.
Does it really?
So that's a big weight saving.
Gosh.
And again, man-made materials like that are fully sustainable.
Do you think this is to appeal to a younger audience who maybe don't know Lotus's brand so much, or
that's been a key consideration. And as I say, you know, it's a very different product proposition for Lotus. It is a global product. It's going to go into some markets where Lotus has traditionally maybe not had that much traction. So yes, it's about appealing to younger customers, and it's about attracting new customers to the brand.
Yeah. And can you buy it with a tow bar to tow your Lotus race car to the racetrack?
You actually can.
Good. I think that's important in this instance.
There is an optional tow bar on the Elettra. Yes.
Is there?
There is.
What about from a pricing point of view? I know it's quite early days for that sort of chat, but obviously it has to sit in an area where it's tempting.
It does. I mean, what we're saying about the product today is that, you know, this product will come to the market in the UK with a price of somewhere in the region of £100,000.
Okay. Okay. So you're hoping that Range Rover don't bring out an electric product in the near future? Which I don't think they are in the near future, actually.
I don't know if we're hoping anything like that. I mean, I think it'd be great if Range Rover does bring out an electric product in the future, but it's definitely not going to look like that, is it?
No. How big are the rims? They're absolutely huge.
High spec product again. So this car here has got the 23-inch wheel option on it, which is the biggest that's available. But again, that helps us to digest the mass of the car. You know, if you look at how sports cars are put together, it's very much about trying to get the body to look as small as possible and emphasising the power of the wheels.
Yeah.
To do that properly, you need big wheels.
Yeah.
And this is there to really make the thing feel as purposeful and dynamic as possible, and visually shrink the mass of the product to give you that Lotus feeling, even in a big car.
Are you revealing suspension and brake details?
An overview of. So the thing is, as a standard spec on air suspension, which is adaptive, so it's able to adjust the ride height. So it's the first Lotus that will be produced with an off-road mode, which is interesting, but obviously applicable to the market segment.
Yeah.
And then there are various options on top of that around adaptive springs and you know, electronic anti-roll bars. And even on this car, to aid dynamics, you're able to have optional rear wheel steering as well. So
Okay.
from a dynamic point of view, it's going to be very capable and highly competitive.
The all-important boot.
You'd be amazed. I find it a little bit uninteresting, but everyone's very enthralled by it.
Hey, if it's a family-orientated vehicle, boots are king.
To be honest.
So we're gonna shut this boot. And the thing I'm amazed at by these cars, of course, this at the moment is a true one-off. Sort of not fully experimental, but this is probably my favourite bit. It's this tail light here with these incredible dugouts, which when I crouch down and look in, I can see the back of the tyre, but I can see this sort of like strakes in there.
Yep.
Amazing.
Well, again, this is where we're trying to leverage design cues from hypercars. I mean, the tunnels on the back of Evija, I think, are iconic. It's a really significant part of that design.
It's like binoculars.
Indeed,
Yeah.
and obviously you can't do that on an SUV package when you've got 400 litres of boot capacity and you know, suspension in certain places and structure of the car to deal with. So what we've tried to do is give this one sort of looping line to the back of the car, this one edge that runs round, which is very much, you know, driven by classic Lotus design over the years.
Yeah.
There's then a negative section to that, which kind of divides the mass, so we're removing again material wherever we can, and as that wraps the corner, it dives into this huge channel, which is trying to be reminiscent of those features that are so strong and evident on the
good.
Evija. So then another aspect of the rear of the car that we've not really touched on yet is the aerodynamic story being accentuated by active devices. So there's a lot of passive air around the car, the ducting that you see everywhere, Also here, strong active element. So active rear spoiler, which is multi-stage deployable, and this is really about controlling most of the wake at the back of the car. So the winglets at the top keep the airflow attached as it travels down the rear screen, and then all of the power is here in terms of efficiency, downforce and drag reduction.
And that's all automatic?
It is, yeah, of course. So this is balanced on the drive mode you're in and what you're trying to do. So in low drag mode, it's flattened out a little bit. For more dynamic driving, you get this maximum angle of attack for downforce.
All right, Ben, well, show me what these things look like. I want to know what this stuff looks like.
Right, so first there we've got the automatically deployable charge port on the car. So obviously for good customer experience, this is a automated opening to allow you to just really seamlessly engage with charging the car without getting hands dirty, etc. That will then close away. And the other intriguing device in the front fender is part of the next level of sort of technological story around Type 132, which is autonomous driving. So what we have here is deploying LiDAR system. So again, in terms of seamless nature of exterior design and the technological story, the autonomous driving technology is hidden until it's needed on the car. So you've just noticed there that LiDAR system deploy here. So this is the side-facing LiDAR, there's one in each front fender. And then similarly on the front header and the rear header, LiDAR systems again that come alive when they're required.
That's clever, because if you were to leave it out there permanently, it would be pretty awful. Bad for aero.
Bad for aero, not the most attractive thing, and it really kind of interrupts the look of the car. So we've taken an approach to having all of these things hidden until they're needed. So a similar story to what we've looked at with the main beam functions, the headlamp as well. So it's a composite system. The LiDAR modules, 4 of them on the car, combined with a bunch of cameras around to give you 360-degree view of the car and a good level of autonomous driving capabilities.
So camera?
Exactly. There's 2 cameras there in that unit, along with the rear-facing camera. There's another one on the B pillar, and then standard located cameras in the nose and the tail of the car that give you this composite imaging around the car and allow autonomous driving function.
And also, just next to this charging flap, you can really see how deeply concave the door is. And I can see straight through to the tyre.
You can, yeah. So this again is our expression of the exterior design following a strong aero narrative. So that sculpture to the body side, which removes visual mass, gives you all the drama, breaks up the light. It's really demonstrating with that one line that flows out of that duct and drops away to the rear, where the airflow goes on the car.
We live in a world now where all manufacturers need to produce cars that sell. And at the moment, SUVs are the world's leading genre, and Lotus knows this, and that is why this car exists. It's quite a shock to see such a large car with a Lotus badge on it. But the bigger picture is more important to me. This car hosts some incredible technology and some amazing design features, and if it does sell, obviously the profit from that will trickle down to other, maybe more familiar Lotuses, Lotai that we know. And the other thing, and this is something that's close to my heart, is it also feeds the desirability and the acceptance of electric cars. And I am very much all for that. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Late Brake Show. It's lovely to get so close and personal to a car so early on in its life. If you're a Patreon, thanks for supporting this channel through Patreon. I'll put a link in the description if you want to know more about that. And please subscribe and comment, etc. Cheers.